About a month or so ago, I did a video about the likelihood of Giannis leaving the Milwaukee Bucks after this season. Basically, what I said in the video was that if the Bucks don't win the NBA Finals this year, Giannis is as good as gone. To be perfectly honest with you, even if the Bucks win the Finals this year, I still think that they could lose Giannis in Milwaukee. He is not signing the Supermax extension. I know that is hard to believe. I know that's hard for Bucks fans to hear. But the honest truth is, NBA players just don't want to live in Milwaukee. I've never been to Milwaukee. So I'm not going to sit here and bash the city like I would if it were somewhere in Florida, where I pretty much hate every city in Florida that I've ever been to. But it's just the truth. It is hard to lure star free agents to Milwaukee. If that weren't the case, then Yanis would have no issue getting guys to come up there to help him win a title. He's arguably the best player in the NBA right now. Do you think that he would have this same problem if he were playing in Los Angeles or Chicago, New York, even Dallas? Of course he wouldn't. The main reason that LeBron James left Cleveland both times is because he couldn't get guys to come up there and play with him because they didn't want to live in Cleveland. Now, the guy that is compared to Michael Jordan couldn't get guys to come play with him in Cleveland. Giannis is having the same problem in Milwaukee. It's a hard truth for fans of small market NBA teams to grasp, but it is the reality of the situation. We have seen this same thing happen over and over again in the NBA. Happened last year with Anthony Davis and my New Orleans Pelicans. Dwight Howard in Orlando. Carmelo Anthony in Denver. It is going to continue to happen, and there is absolutely nothing the NBA can do about it. I say this all the time. The NFL and the NBA take a complete opposite approach when it comes to how they handle their players. In the NFL, the owners have the majority of the power, whereas in the NBA, the players have all the power. Not some of the power, all of the power. If LeBron James went to Jeannie Buss tomorrow and said that he wanted Frank Vogel fired, Frank Vogel would be on the first flight out of LAX with a coach ticket courtesy of the Los Angeles Lakers. If Jared Goff wanted Sean McVay fired from the Rams ownership and front office would laugh his ass out of the building and remind him that they are overpaying him because he sucked last year. Adam Silver tried to fix this issue of superstar players leaving small market teams. That's where the idea of the Supermax extension came from. In theory, it was a great idea. He figured if he allowed small market teams to add an additional year to the contract, pay their star player an extra 30, 40, $50 million over a team who was going after him in free agency, that would be enough to keep the guy in Milwaukee or New Orleans or Orlando or wherever the fuck. As we've come to find out, money's just not enough. And this should have been a given. Guys like Anthony Davis or Steph Curry, LeBron, Yanis, these guys make more money through endorsement deals a lot of times than they do on their NBA contracts. At the end of the day, there is nothing the league can do about it. Sort of some type of mandate where they lock these guys into the team that drafted them for X amount of years, which is what they've already done with the way the rookie contracts and the second year contracts are structured, with guys going into restricted free agency where the team that drafted them can match any offer they receive. So basically, they are tied to the team that drafts them the first 7-8 years of their NBA career. Like I said, the Supermax extension was a nice idea in theory. Most government programs are nice ideas in theory. Most government programs are started with the best of intentions. A little bit of time goes by, end up becoming bloated, ineffective, just like the Supermax extension in the NBA. Ineffective. The likelihood of Giannis staying in Milwaukee when things were normal was slim to none. Now with this COVID pandemic, it's all but a guarantee that his time in Milwaukee is essentially over. When I did the video on this last month, I was assuming that the NBA at some point was going to return to some semblance of normalcy. And what I mean by that, some form of the regular season was going to return and playoff games would be played in home arenas. Which, if you watch the NBA, you know home court is a massive advantage in the playoffs. Not only because of the reduced travel, the comfort of playing at home, but because the fans have such a huge impact on the outcome of the game. Even if the fans weren't allowed into the arena, home court advantage would still be a little bit of an advantage in the playoffs. That scenario is becoming increasingly unlikely. Matter of fact, it looks like it's not going to happen at all. The NBA is in serious talks about having all games held in Orlando at the Disney Wide World of Sports complex. Nothing's been confirmed yet, but this rumor's been going around for a couple of weeks now, and seems like it's close to happening. I imagine Adam Silver will make an announcement next week when he lays out the plan for the return of the NBA. As of right now, it appears that the NBA is going to end the regular season prematurely. So for teams like my New Orleans Pelicans, who were coming together, starting to play well, 3.5 games out of the 8th seed in the Western Conference, their season's over. Thanks for the hard work. Tough shit. See you next year. Maybe that won't be the case. I hope that won't be the case. But with an NBA return at this point looking like mid-July, I don't see any way that they can finish out the regular season. So the Bucks lose home court advantage if the league moves all the games to Orlando, which is kind of shitty for them because they've worked hard all year to be the number 1 seed across the NBA to secure home court advantage. However, this could actually benefit them if the NBA keeps a traditional playoff field. In neutral site games, the better team, the more talented team, wins out the majority of the time. Moving to a neutral site actually hurts teams like Indiana or Boston, who have strong fan bases and are tough to beat at home. They rely on those home games, games 3, game 4, to get a win or two, so they only have to go back to a team like Milwaukee and win 1 game on the road. It could actually be an advantage to a team like the Sixers, who are complete dog shit on the road. So in a traditional playoff field in Orlando, neutral site for the whole playoffs, it should be an easy walk for the Bucks to the NBA Finals, right? I mean, now all they've got to do is beat either the Lakers or the Clippers, and they have a chance to keep Giannis long term, right? Not so fast. That might not be the case. Adam Silver is expected to propose a significant change to the 2020 NBA playoffs. Instead of having the top 8 seeds in each conference battle it out, like is normally the case, he's going to propose a 16-team playoff tournament for the postseason, ranking teams 1 to 16, which would make it possible for teams in the East and teams in the West to meet in the first round, second round, whatever fucking round. The point is, they will meet before the NBA Finals. Well, what's the big deal about that? Nothing if you're a team in the Western Conference. I mean, that type of seeding is welcome news. The Western Conference is fucking loaded top to bottom. You got the Lakers and the Clippers up top, but a team like Dallas is a scary matchup in the playoffs. Same with Utah, Denver. I mean, the West is loaded. That's not the case in the Eastern Conference. It's pretty much Milwaukee at the top and everybody else. I mean, Boston and Toronto are good, don't get me wrong, but after that, there's not much. And do you really think that Boston or Toronto have a shot at beating Milwaukee in a 7-game series? No one's worried about facing the Brooklyn fucking Nets or Orlando in the playoffs. Can even make the same case about Philadelphia. If the league decides to go with a 1 through 16 playoff setup, the road to the NBA Finals becomes exponentially more difficult on Yanis and the Bucks. Their odds of making the NBA Finals actually drop 17%. The odds to win it all drops 10%. With this type of playoff system, they can meet the Lakers, the Clippers, before the NBA Finals. They can match up with a team like Oklahoma City in the second round. to show you how big the disparity is between the conferences, check this out for a second. If you seeded the teams 1 through 16, 6 of the top 8 teams would come out of the West, which naturally means 6 of the bottom 8 teams are in the East. I mention all of this to show you that it would be much more difficult for Milwaukee to even make the NBA Finals in this playoff system, much less win it all. And trust me, the Bucks have to win it all this year just for the hope of keeping Giannis long term. I realize that he's got another year on his contract. That doesn't mean a fucking thing. We've all seen what the final year of a contract means with these superstar players if they want out. It's meaningless. The one saving grace for fans of the Bucks, league owners would have to approve the change in the playoffs. They would have to approve the 1 through 16 system. You really think that owners in the Eastern Conference are going to approve that? Probably not. But stranger things have happened. I mean, you don't know. Who would have ever thought that Adam Silver would shut the fucking league down in mid-March? I didn't. I, for one, think going to a 1 through 16 playoff system would make the playoffs more exciting this year. But for this year only. Next year, go back to the traditional playoff setup. But as for Milwaukee, whatever the case may be, whether it's a traditional playoff system or the 1 through 16, the fact of the matter is, all of the pressure going into the playoffs this year is going to be on the Milwaukee Bucks to win it all this summer. We will never know what would have happened under normal circumstances. It sucks for them. It sucks for everybody. But with this long layoff, who the fuck knows what the playoffs will look like? Who knows what teams are going to look like? It's going to be an uphill battle for Giannis and the Bucks. Unfortunately, if you're a fan of the Bucks, your superstar player is on his way out the door. The only thing you can hope for now is that management in Milwaukee get enough in return for him that the Bucks don't have to go into a full-on rebuild. The Orlando Magic have never recovered from losing Dwight Howard. When they lost Shaq, it took them almost a decade to recover from that. And that's only because they got the number 1 pick and Dwight Howard was available. New Orleans gave the blueprint for how to handle the trading of a superstar player last year. We'll see how the Bucks handle this situation with Giannis. I think he's going to end up in Golden State. I think they have the most to offer, and I also think that the Warriors give Giannis his best chance to win a title, maybe multiple titles. Could even be Miami. The Heat would be another strong choice. Team him up with Jimmy Butler. Either way, what I can tell you with confidence is that this time next year, Giannis will not be playing for Milwaukee. All right, that's all for today. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button for me. Click the notification bell to receive all updates from the channel. I appreciate those of you that have already done so. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. Appreciate the support. Leave me a comment in the section below. Let me know what you think. Do you think Giannis will be in Milwaukee this time next year? Let me know your thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you have any questions for me, you can email them to btlkc84@gmail.com. See you guys next time.